network can mean a lot of different things to the different people, and there's lots of networks and they all have different models that work differently. But ours is like, we consider ourselves independent podcast networks. All of our shows are independently run, and we help with like distribution, promotion, growth, and of course, monetization. Podcasting has been on the map for a while. Like you could say like some touch points were like Serial, right? And then, there's like that Spotify started like pushing podcasts, and that's another point when it was like opened up the door to a lot of people. And then, so there's this, right, that happened that it could potentially, it played some part.
I feel like it will be in history books.
Yeah. And so that I think people are seeing that, they're recognizing that. And I mean, I can already say, like, we've had the Prime Minister as a guest. Yeah, Justin Trudeau.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Olive Podcast, the podcast where we sit down with all of you. And today we are extending the olive branch. But before I extend it to Michael, I want to welcome Sham back to the mic. Sham, is this your first episode in season 2?
Yeah, I'm reporting up to it. 2-3 months?
Yeah, it's been a minute since you've been here.
Yeah.
It's very good to have you back on the mic. I'm glad that you're here. Now, the guest for today. This is a really big deal for me. Michael probably doesn't even realize how big of a deal I feel this is, but I would like to welcome Michael from the Sonar Network. Michael, I'm not even going to say your last name because I'm afraid I'm going to pronounce it wrong.
Oh, that's okay. I know my last name is insane. So I've heard of all the different pronunciations and nothing offends me.
Nothing offends you.
I can't be offended. I dare you to try.
I have a weird last name too. And your last name is hard to pronounce. Cool. So pronounce it for us, Michael, so that we know. Michael.
And I'm going to say how I pronounce it, not necessarily how maybe is the correct way, but Mongiardi.
Mongiardi. Okay, that's not how it's spelled.
Yeah. It's Italian.
Yeah. So Michael Mongiardi from the Sonar Network. Michael, it's an absolute pleasure and a joy to have you here. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Toronto to tiny little town Galt, Cambridge.
No problem. Thanks for having me in this incredible place. The listener can't, or the viewer.
Or a listener.
Or
we had
listener.
some exclusive listeners and some viewers.
The viewers can see part of your house. The listeners can't see any of it.
Yeah.
But it's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very special place every time we have people here, right, Sham? Like,
Putting out the shame reaction.
Yeah. Oh, my. And Sham's already called dibs on it, so.
Oh, when Shannon moves out, you're in.
It never will I ever have to pry my cold dead body from this place, but if and when that does ever happen, Sham's got this.
Yes.
You don't have to fight her for it. But anyways, thank you so much for being here. It's like I said, it's a joy to have you here. I wanted to kick this episode off with asking you probably the most basic question, but why is podcasting important to you? Because you went out and started a whole network for this, so obviously it means something to you.
Oh yeah, I did do that.
You did do that. So why is it important to you?
Why is it important to me? So, I mean, do you want me to go all in?
I want you to go all in on this.
Let's go. We're going to go back to
Childhood traumas.
Childhood trauma, influences, whatever.
I will say, okay, I'll go back. So, I'm a man of a certain age. I kind of grew up like kind of in the 90s, really my formative years. And I listened to a lot of talk radio, morning, like I love morning shows and stuff. And then when I started, and in fact, one morning show I listened to in Toronto area in the 90s time was a show called Humble and Fred. Do you follow that? No. It was a morning show. They were great, and they were just kind of like two guys, kind of a little edgy, and it was like, at that time in my life, it was great. The cool thing is, flash forward to right now, I'm working with them directly on their podcast, so that's kind of a fun.
Oh my God, that's a full circle moment for sure.
Yeah, fun, like little, I was going to say bookend, but it's the
book's not over.
Book's not over.
Unless you're writing an anthology.
I'm going to buy a new bookshelf. But anyway, so yeah, I listen to a lot of radio, morning shows. I love like comedy and the talk stuff. So yeah, when I started working full time, like after graduating from university, and spent a lot of time commuting, so I was listening to a lot of morning radio, and I still liked it, but I think what started to like annoy me was all of the ads. You know, there was like ads and music all the time. I'm like, I just wanted talk radio, and this was like 2005 or six, maybe five, and so like podcasting was quite new at this time, but I had been on my radar, and I heard about it, and it was like even iTunes didn't like fully support it yet, like not even close to.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but I was like interested in, and then also at the time there was like nothing good. It's like it was so impenetrable that it's like the only people that were podcasting were like, you know, tech nerds and stuff. So it wasn't the most charismatic people. It wasn't entertainers yet. Like comedians hadn't really got discovered it yet. Definitely like celebrities and stuff. But it was like a little while before like, you know, like Ricky Gervais and like Kevin Smith were kind of some of the early like celebrities that like started experimenting with the platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it then and was just a listener and a fan for a long time. And but the question is, why is it important to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't addressed that at all. But yeah, I think what was cool to me at that time and still today is that it's a platform with kind of no real barrier to entry besides like you need an internet connection, you know, and like some people have an amazing studio set up in their house with 4 cameras, 2 people hanging around here, and to help out and stuff, you know, which is great. And some people, you know, you can just record audio on your phone and upload it, and like that is also a podcast.
Yeah,
it counts, right? And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's like whatever Joe Rogan making $200 million deals with Spotify for some reason,
right?
And like, you know, that's also a podcast. They're all podcasts, right? And that's the cool thing. It's like, you know, it kind of gives everyone a voice. You know, not everyone has, you know, Joe Rogan's audience. I always use him as an example. I don't know why.
I know. I find myself doing that too.
But it's just kind of the example of someone that made a wild deal, and like someone was getting hundreds of millions of dollars for podcasting, and it was like it really kind of changed the perspective, like the general public.
Yeah.
Like you just told us, this is like not your first thing that you stepped out of college and started doing. So what was your full time? What were you initially studying?
Yeah, I graduated from the University of Waterloo, right around here.
Oh,
Yeah, for computer science, and you know, it was
Weird.
in software. Yeah,
so maybe that was.
yeah.
But I mean, podcasting and tech overlaps so much. I mean, we've learned, I feel, just from being able to set up equipment. The very first podcast we recorded, do you remember? July 3rd. Do you remember how long it took us to set up all the equipment?
We messed up so many.
We messed up so many things. It was like two hours. Our guest was sitting here waiting. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that's very interesting. I didn't know that you went to school at the University of Waterloo.
Yeah.
So I guess my question then for you, because if podcasting was so important to you, when was it apparent to you that you wanted to go all in on podcasting? Because the Sonar Network must not just be a part-time job. Like, you must be really dedicating a lot of time to this.
I am. And so, yeah, in, around, I think, 2012 or 11 or something, I was still a big fan of podcasting as a listener. And I was also kind of studied comedy at Second City and doing comedy at Toronto, and had kind of a little group of friends that, you know, you hung out with, and we did comedy together, and we were all podcast fans, and eventually we decided to start one. And so built a podcast, started to find a community in the city of podcasters, and then decided, you know, there's other networks, obviously, around the world. Earwolf was like a huge inspiration, right, of ours. And seeing this like fun community of, you know, LA comedians and actors and stuff, you know, all in this community of Earwolf, where they guest on each other's shows, and it's like they all seem like they're having so much fun.
Yeah.
And like for a while, we kept saying like, I wish someone would do that in Toronto. That would be so fun and cool, and we could be a part of it, and it would be fun to like be part of a community like that. And we kept saying like, someone else should do this. Someone should do this. And then eventually it was just like, well, I guess we should do it. No one else is doing it. So with no experience on running a network or running a business in the entertainment industry or anything, or dealing with brands or advertisers, or just completely trial by fire. Like, let's just do it and see how it goes. And it's like making mistakes along the way, and learning as we go. But that was around 2017 when we started it. So
Wow, 2017. Oh my goodness. So not even a decade, like 7 years, I guess. 8 years. 8 years. Wow. And so are you still working a corporate job and doing Sonar Network, or like what does your work life look like nowadays?
no, right now I'm focused on the network, full time. And so
Wow.
What is Sonar Network doing in general? Like, what would be the great basics if somebody needs to, go up and understand what we're doing? I'm just trying to get our viewers and listeners to understand what what it was about.
Yeah, because you talk about Sonar Network being a community. So what does that look like? As a community, is it that you're meeting weekly? Are you being on each other's podcasts still? Like, what does that look like to be a part of a network?
Yeah, sorry, I get caught. I forget that not everyone has the same fist post phrase.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like a network can mean a lot of different things to to different people, and there's lots of networks, and they all have different models that work differently. But ours is like, we consider ourselves independent podcast networks. All of our shows are independently run, and we help with like distribution, promotion, growth, and of course monetization, and that's kind of what we do. We kind of are trying to build a curated kind of collection of shows that are catered to like a certain audience. The audience that we've built have a certain expectation of like, I think, of the types of shows, and we want it to be like, if we bring a show onto the network, it fits into the vibe of the network. It fits into what the listeners might be looking for, but it's also different, right? We want to have variety. We don't want all the shows to be kind of clones of each other,
Right.
but we also want, if someone wants a sports show, say, well, then maybe they will look at our network first and see if we have a sport, and we have a sports show, right? But it's hosted by comedians, so it kind of fits in with our like kind of comedy vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I was just thinking, when you think about a podcast network, it's almost like, well, it's like the same thing as a television network. When a television network signs on a TV show, I'm thinking back in the 90s. I don't watch TV these days, but back in the 90s, like Peachtree TV and City TV and HGTV and, all of those TV networks. So I'm assuming at some point in the future, there will probably be, if not multiple podcast networks, like, will it be just the same as television networks?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of the same thing on some level. I mean, and there are a lot of networks right now. I mean, there's definitely a bunch. And it is kind of the same, right? It's just basically a bunch of programs supported by ads. Yeah, that's what TV is, and that's what podcast networks are. It's obviously very different, and the money that we're looking at is very different, especially when it's like, podcasts are very DIY and stuff, so they're produced often very low to no budget, and it's really about building an audience. Yes.
When you talk about your audience, like currently, do you find like, is there some sort of pattern that you're recognizing where most of your target audience is coming from?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I mean, definitely a comedy audience, which is pretty broad, right? A lot of people fit into the category where they enjoy comedy on some level. So yeah, our demographic is pretty wide as far as like age and gender and stuff. It's pretty split. But the one thing that is always interesting is our listenership is mostly American.
Really?
Yeah. And it's not because we were trying to target American listeners or anything. We're a Canadian network. We do have some American shows now, but we've always been like, especially when we started, we were Canadian network, Canada first, and all this, and which, we still are very Canadian and proud to be. But yeah, I mean, the fact is just America's 11 times our size. Their population is so much bigger than ours. And so it's like over time, just we saw the American audience grow and grow and grow and grow, overtake our Canadian listenership. And now it's like,
It's kind of interesting that you say that. My following on Instagram is really American. I have a lot of American people, not that I have a following on Instagram, but like my reels and stuff, if they are seen and I look at the analytic, it's American. And I'm actually grateful that you brought up American listeners, because I wanted to talk to you about how the US election was really driven by podcasting. For the very first time in human history, it wasn't really celebrities necessarily endorsing the presidential candidates that drove the votership, I guess is what you would call it. It was the podcasting and the power that the podcasting really had in driving the election. Do you have any thoughts on this? Have you reflected on this? Like how big of an impact podcasting is having now on society in general?
that is a big topic of conversation, especially after this recent American election. So on one level, obviously people are suggesting that, Trump's appearances on the various shows helped him win the election. And if that's the case, then I'm not crazy about that. But, it's like, I'm like, oh, damn, I wish it wasn't my favorite thing that helped him win. But I will say that podcasting has been on the map for a while. Like you could say like some touch points were like Serial, right? And Serial came out and all of a sudden my parents were like listening to the podcast, caring about it. And then, there's like that Spotify started like pushing podcasts, and that was another point when it was like opened up the door to a lot of people. And then, so there's this, right, that happened that could potentially, it played some part.
I feel like it will be in history books.
Yeah. And so that I think people are seeing that. They're recognizing that. And I mean, I can already say, like, we've had the Prime Minister as a guest. Yeah, Justin Trudeau. Last year. Yeah. And I'm presuming that they're obviously seeing that. Like, I think we're going to see, we have an election coming up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think that you'll be reached out to have, maybe the future prime minister candidate on one of the Sonar Network shows?
I mean, it's possible. They reached out to us back then and kind of kept in touch. We've had a couple MPs. I mean, most of our shows are comedy shows, so like there's not always a good fit for like people talking about like fart jokes over here. So it's like might not fit all the time. But I think people are seeing that there's value there and are not dismissing podcasts as much, because it was a hard road. Podcast,
oh my gosh,
is for nerds and people didn't care about it and people weren't taking it seriously. It's like radio for losers and it's like all this stuff, and then all of a sudden it helps to like win the election.
Right? That's such a powerful tool.
Yeah,
it's such a powerful tool.
Like as somebody who's like a constant doom scroller, to be on Instagram and like have these podcasters pop up, like there's so many controversial topics that we just like in a very nuanced sense talk about. At the same time, like have really serious political elections be influenced by these things. Like, are there some topics that you just, the network in general or the podcast see just kind of steers away from? Like you said, politics don't really mix with comedy, but at the same time, this is becoming one of the most prominent platforms. Yeah,
I mean, I will say that our network in particular has, okay, I will say this. I will put it like this. We run ads on the network. We have programmatic ads. And every once in a while, an ad will kind of come through that is like something political. Hey, puppy.
Hi, Olive. You just can't bring the bone on. That's all. This is the All of You podcast, so you're allowed to be here, just not chewing on the, not chewing bones on the set.
But yeah, so it's not that we want to steer away from politics, but we also don't want to promote
A
a certain agenda
way or another.
that we kind of are, morally or ethically opposed to, and it's just network wide. Our network probably leans, left
In one direction over the other. Yeah.
in one direction over the other, whatever that may be. And we can block certain ads, but sometimes stuff sneaks through, and it's just like, there's, the listeners expect a certain thing, and they can be offended if they hear something that, that is like, it sounds kind of like, if it's coming from us, from our shows, it sounds like we are standing behind it, which are not. It's just like an ad that got put there that I didn't have anything to do with. It's just like gets inserted automatically,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you, because I'm not going to guess how old you are, but you said your foundational years were in the 90s. Mine were also in the 90s. Sham is much younger than us. So from a Gen Z perspective, how do you feel like podcasting is influencing your generation? Because we've obviously grown up with talk radio and whatnot, but did you ever sit around the radio and listen to the radio when you were growing up?
Very honest, our attention span is very, very, very limited. So right now, even if there isn't crazy, and if I can say, oh, there are a few UK-based podcast shows that I even listen to, I would be lying, because I will not actually going on any of these platforms and listening to them. I'm looking at their reels on Instagram and TikTok that pop up. There's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And they have a clickbait, which is insanely funny, and I'm like, oh, wow, they're so funny. And I go to their Instagram, scroll further. But at the same time, with podcasts who discuss serious issues, and that's why a follow-up question was coming in, I feel like the creators that are behind a network or a specific podcast show and what they believe in, what they stand for, them being vocal about it, because it's becoming such a big platform. It's it's so important for them to be vocal about it or advocate for things that I understand. And that's why I wanted to ask you, how would you differentiate between personal beliefs and what you stand for and what you would like to, criminal, for example, with rates right now at the state soda. How would you differentiate between having a platform that is unbiased and has a clean slate, but at the same time
So on a stand up for racially. Oof, Sham, digging deep. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard. And ultimately, when people come to our shows, I think for the most part, they're just looking for fun, to laugh. I don't think we don't have any political opinion shows. But that being said, we also I think so. It's we're not going on big soapbox, stuff about our beliefs. But I think everyone on the network is pretty much aligned, I would say, and so that comes through, right? And also, I mean, furthermore, I think the bigger issue would be to support, especially in the pandemic, there was a lot of this divisive stuff about masks and vaccines and stuff, right? And it was there was under no circumstances were we going to
were we flagged if you talked about COVID? Didn't some platforms, if COVID was even picked up in the algorithm, didn't it get pushed aside?
In YouTube, yeah, but podcasting, audio is even still, there's even still you could put up copywritten music and probably get away with it. And only Spotify, I think Spotify will take you down, but it's it's a little bit more difficult because podcasting is decentralized, right? It's all RSS feeds and stuff. YouTube had I think, was strict about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we would encounter that occasionally during the pandemic, especially when we had to kind of take some action in that time because it's I'm not going to, it's I want everyone, we don't censor people, but if something offensive or misinformation is going out on my platform, it's just that's just not okay.
Yeah.
And so it's happened only very rarely, but we have to step in and remove an episode or something that was
controversial
I
or
feel like the entire world right now is drifting away from these mainstream news channels just because of how the lack of fact check.
oh gosh. But also it's also manufactured, and how do you know what's even real?
No, so that's the thing, right? Because now we're drifting away from. I don't see more people in my peer circle, like whether it's work or anywhere else, rely on news channels and newspaper and articles to get their facts and information from. They're going to like TikTok, social media, and TikTok, and having these creators put up fact checks and podcasters clips talking about general issues with experts in those fields. And I feel like that's becoming more of a information, especially with all the censorship going around on Google and all of these main news channels.
Yes, like, well, I think that goes back to how podcasts made such a huge influence on the election. I can't remember the exact statistics or the numbers, but because you're a dude, I'm going to bring this up because maybe you could speak to this. The younger male demographic historically never voted. And when Trump was on Rogan, think of the primary demographic that listens to that show was a younger male demographic. So when you think about, you know, I don't know what the age would be, what age? 18 to 30, I suppose, if they'd never voted before and they were like, yeah, make America great again. You're my favorite podcaster, now my favorite politician. And if they don't have anything else to believe in because, you know.
I think there's like, I don't know if you would agree to this, but I think because podcasting is just so easily doable when like anybody can do it, and it's so hard to censor these small creators too, right? With a thought process and ideology, it could go both ways. Like somebody can be fact checking and giving all the information that's relevant and valid at the same time. Be just
Michael's not on social media.
Not real. Yeah.
I've tried. After the podcast pitch event there, if ever I did go see if I could find you, but I was like, he's not active on social media.
Yeah, I made do you know Amanda? You know?
Yeah, we love Amanda.
Yeah, you love her too. She's great.
I was just talking to her this morning.
She's a total inspiration to everyone.
Shout out to Amanda.
We'll read her book.
Love her.
She's an amazing podcast legend.
And she's coming out with the kids podcasting book at the end of this month.
Yeah, I just pre-ordered it yesterday.
Cool.
But anyway, I've promised her that I would get on LinkedIn by the end of this month. So I'm saying it here. It is March 12th?
It is March 12th, yes.
So by the end of this month, I'm saying it here on the All of You podcast, I will be on LinkedIn.
You could add Michael on LinkedIn. Mongiardi?
Yeah.
Mongiardi on LinkedIn. He'll be there. Be there, be square, Michael.
Yeah.
You're really snoozing though, because LinkedIn is like really exploding right now. Some crazy statistic, like there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn and something like only 1% post once a week on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know. I'm seeing that happen, and yeah, I've been sleeping on that for sure.
And video on LinkedIn now. It's being pushed. I know you don't spend much time on LinkedIn because you have a love-hate relationship with it too.
I'm not a big fan of LinkedIn for a bunch of reasons, but I think it's also because it's just so saturated with
phony baloney bullshit.
It can be so cringe.
Yeah.
That people like, that kind of, I will just never be like that.
So I am not like that on LinkedIn. I post very like, why is nobody talking about this? And this is really shitty. And but you know,
I feel like it's a rainbows and sunshine platform.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a big fan of. So like I'm there but not there at the same time.
Yeah. But like all platforms are that on some level. Like, you know, you look at someone's Instagram profile and it's people only post about how great their life is and everything, and it's like I feel like
curated.
Yeah, like I think that's partially what pushed me to social media is like if someone is sad, or whatever, or feeling bad about themselves, and they're looking at Instagram and people are only curating the good stuff about their life and how great their life is, and I feel like that can make people feel worse.
Well, I think that's what's contributed to the mental health crisis the younger people are faced with.
Surprisingly, I would disagree with you guys here. Like, if I am on my Instagram page and if I see somebody like constantly share how sad and miserable they're, I would probably read that.
Oh, I'm not necessarily saying I want to see sadness on there. I'm just saying that seeing nothing but
the highlights of their life.
people highlighting only the good things, right? So it gives the perception of like everyone has these full, exciting lives and I don't, right?
Right. Well, there is research and statistics that show that there are higher rates of suicidal ideation amongst young people, like 12-year-olds, because they're inundated with the crap that they see on TikTok and Instagram. It's crazy.
Oh man, you just got flagged by YouTube.
Sorry.
This is about you, is the bad Lord.
We were far enough into that's the first 5 minutes or something. I think they're good. Well, so I guess then that kind of helps me segue into another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is mentorship, because the All of You podcast is actually a branch of the not-for-profit that Sham and I were responsible for birthing into existence. And mentorship obviously is a huge part of that, intergenerational mentorship specifically. So when you think about if there's somebody out there listening and they're like, man, I've always wanted to start a podcast, like what would be a couple words of wisdom or advice? Like Sham and I are still learning too, so we'll be taking notes. But like what would be some guidance? Because you've been doing this for a minute, you're dedicating your life to it. If there was somebody out there listening that wanted to do the same thing, what would you tell them?
They wanted to start a podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, just do it. Plan it, right? Put some thought into it, plan it out, figure out what your format is going to be, what your vibe is going to be, and then just do it. Just do one episode, give it to some friends, look at it yourself, like with a critical eye on like, what you liked and what you didn't, and just eventually get it to a point where you find out what works, what did it, and then when you're ready, just put it out.
Hey, for the both of you, I know you guys are entrepreneurs and you both started your own things. Like, how was it moving from your mainstream job to taking that job? Like, I'm more interested in doing shit.
Oh, yeah. How long ago was it that you gave up corporate and dove into entrepreneurship completely?
Not long ago, just last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was scary. That's the primary word.
I would say it's
Yeah.
I would say terrifying. I would say, mostly terrifying, but worth it.
Did you guys start off? Do you regret going into your primary career field first and then starting off this, or would you be like, oh, I should have started this the moment I graduated? I should have step-footed it up in a bigger thing or go to a larger scale.
Well, for me, with podcasting, it didn't exist when I graduated university.
It was still such a micro thing.
Yeah,
even. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. There's every year they say this is the 20th anniversary of podcasts, which I think they've been saying for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's but even podcasts can even predate podcast is just a term that Apple made up, right? It's iPod and broadcasts and
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Whatever those put 2 words together, portmanteau. But it existed before, right? It just at its core, podcasting is just like an RSS feed that serves MP3s, right? Like that predates the term podcast, and it goes back, and so it's hard to say when it started. But anyway, this is not important.
It is important. I'm learning. It's so good.
But to answer your question, yeah, it didn't really exist. It wasn't really a viable thing, and even for years, it was not really a thing that people saw as that could be a career or could be profitable,
pay your bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for somebody who belongs to 18 parents, we've always been told how to primary career figure things out, and these things are hobbies, but clearly not. No. Those are retired careers, and I'm pretty sure anybody wanting to jump into that would be scared for their life right now, because how do you start that? How do you make it profitable? All of this.
I wouldn't know. They haven't made it profitable. I have no idea. Podcasting is not my primary. It's something that I've been very interested in. I can't remember if I told Michael this, but 100 years ago, it feels like 2010, I wrote a blog, and it was a long blog. I couldn't tell you how many words, but a long blog, and people were like, I don't want to read all that. It's too long. And I was like, okay, well, I'll read them, and then maybe people will listen to me reading the blog. And then I just recorded the audio on the little voice note thing on my Dell computer. downloaded the file, and then attached it as an attachment to the end of my blog. And people were listening to me reading it instead of reading the whole long thing. So I have been, and even pre-dating before that, like when I was in high school, I was a drama nerd. I was like head of the drama committee, and we, podcasting did not exist then at all. Nothing like that existed then. Oh my goodness, what's going on? But I've always been very interested in writing and like communicate. Obviously, I'm a professor, so I do a lot of communicating with, young people. And I don't think it really became apparent to me that I wanted to do the podcast until a group of students in a classroom said, Shannon, you should start a podcast. And then it took me a year to even pull the trigger to buy mics and stuff. And then it wasn't until meeting Amanda Capito where I was like, this is possible, right?
Yeah.
And now we're here doing this, and we've been doing it for months, not even a year, but months and months, which is fun. So tell me, Michael, is it easy to get a podcast monetized?
Is it easy to get a podcast monetized? I mean, no. I mean, yes. Sorry. Yes, it is on some level. I mean, you can monetize a show with very few impressions, very few listens, views, whatever you're doing. But it won't make much money. It'd be like, cents, right? And YouTube. I mean, is your channel monetized on YouTube? No. So I don't know a lot about YouTube. I work mostly in audio, but YouTube, I forget what it is, like 4,000 hours or something.
Yeah, I think they may have just changed it. It might be 3,000 listening hours or 4,000 listening hours and a certain number of views. It used to be both, but now it's one or the other, I heard. I don't know, like number of followers versus number of listening hours or minutes. I can't remember now exactly, but.
Yeah, so it's like, let's say it's 4,000 listening hours. That's not unachievable, right? It's not like you can't just start an account and have that, but you can get there. But if you're at 4,000 listening hours, I think you're
doing okay.
You're going to make, a few dollars or something, I don't know. But, and it's similar with audio too. It's like you can throw ads up on your show. You can set up programmatic advertising, and you can make some pennies. As far as like host read ads and like brand deals, the shows would need to be a little bigger. Brands, if you're making a deal with a brand, they're gonna want to know what your numbers are and want to know what they're getting and stuff. So that changes the game a little. But yeah, I mean, you can monetize. You can start monetizing. It's probably not worth the pennies to annoy your listeners with ads.
What that?
At a small level, but it's possible.
Yeah. The only reason why I asked that is because for listeners out there, like we're not over here making thousands and bajillions of dollars doing this. Like we do this because we're trying to normalize conversations about professional development and normalizing intergenerational conversation. Like if we were making bajillions of dollars, that would make this so much better. But we're doing this because it's a way to get a message out, and it's a way to normalize the things that Olive Branch and all of you podcasts feel are really important for young people to hear. If anybody wants to sponsor us, so we would love that very much. But we're still a baby microcosm of podcasting in the grand scheme of things. Michael's already getting into the talking point cards, which we are going to get into.
So I thought these were set here because they were a sponsor.
Oh, I wish they were. Not a talking point. We actually use them every episode as part of it. So we can do this actually. It's part of one of the things that we do. So the talking point cards, there's 3 different themes. Sean, you can go ahead.
You have resilience, support, and then generations. Picture
resilience, support, or generation.
like Tanya video without a card.
I don't know what any of it means, but I'm going to say support.
The kids totally messed up the category card. I don't know if you'll be able to find it there or not. You might just have to pick a color.
I should have it.
Did you find it? So for those of you who are just listening, the talking point cards got all mixed up because we had 13 10-year-olds here on the set a couple of weeks and they got into the toy carts. You just pick a card, any card you wish.
And the kids were here because Shannon was hosting a podcast party, which she loves to do. And if you want to have a podcast party,
It was so much fun.
you come on over here, open door policy, any time of day, bring all your children.
Bring all your children. I'll be your babysitter and your summer camp and anything that you need. And anything that.
This is a question I don't want to ask because it's like it's the lost opportunity, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Okay, do it.
What song always puts you in a good?
Ooh, that's cute. What song always puts you in a good mood?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will say I could answer that question with a story.
Sure. This is a podcast.
One time I was listening to music it was years ago, and that song "Happy" came on. Yeah, and it's like it's just catchy. It's like positive. It's like there's just no negativity. It's just like I'm just in a good mood. I was in a parking garage, like walking to my car, and I was like dancing along to the music. And then I saw then I got to my car and I started trying to open the door, and I couldn't get it open, and I was like hitting the button and I couldn't get it open, and I was like dancing right to the music, and I was like trying to get into the car like vigorously, and then I realized, oh, this isn't my car. And there was a guy sitting in the car.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, my guy was right beside.
That's really funny. Oh my god. That's something I would do for sure. Pink Pony Club is just in my head all day long, every day. What have you done? Oh my god, I can't. It's so good. It's such a vibe.
I really picked out card.
Okay, you got another one for us?
Yes.
Okay, with me the box too, because I'll ask you one.
Which one do you?
I'll take the same support. All right, lay it on us, John.
What does your perfect day look like?
Oh, well, there's that one too. What does your perfect day look like, Michael?
I guess I wake up.
Sure.
Get coffee.
Thank goodness you're not dead. Are you forced to?
No.
Does an alarm go off?
I have an alarm, but it never wakes me up. I always wake up with
too.
an early riser. I like to have a coffee, sip coffee, watch like TV or YouTube for a little while. Then maybe put a coffee into a to-go cup. And then get in my car, drive out to Galt, Ontario. And go on a podcast. It's not good.
That's a very good tip. But you told us you drank a Coke Zero on the way here today.
I did. Well, I mean,
He said he was a Coke Zero slut, which I'm just gonna say because I just found it so funny. We are too. Like Coke Zero, Coca-Cola. You could also.
call us up.
Yeah, we love to talk about Coca.
Oh yeah.
That's a fun day. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good day.
That is a good day. I mean, I don't know. What does your perfect day look like? You've got the gym for sure. You go to the gym.
I don't go to the gym in the morning, but like getting up slowly, like no alarms, none of that. I like a very chill, relaxed morning. Maybe do something.
What do you mean? What's something?
Exist in my room, do something.
You're not being very specific.
Anything that just make my break feel good.
Okay. Like scroll on your phone?
Oh no.
That's doom scroll. Then go doom scroll. End of the day kind of thing.
Yeah, I like a slow morning. Go out, chill.
That's such a Gen Z response.
I love sleeping. Sleeping is my favorite hobby.
Every time I try to call you, you're sleeping.
Oh, I couldn't be more opposite.
I'm opposite too.
I just look at sleeping as like something I have to do, but it's like every extra minute that I'm sleeping is just 1 minute less of my life that I get to live. And it's kind of like a little bit killing you every time you sleep. That's how I look at it. A little bit of less life you get to. And my partner is exactly the opposite. I'm up at like 7 and I'm just up and I'm just like waiting for her to get up. And it's just like,
I wake up at 7, but I also go to sleep at 2. So the whole day I need to get like
Every night?
naps. Naps are the best thing in the world. You just randomly sleep.
I do love a good
nap. Absolutely. Yeah.
oh yeah.
I do love a good nap.
Yeah, underrated.
Naps are underrated.
Naps are definitely.
The only reason I sleep so late and wake up early is so that I can nap.
But would you lie and say that every time I call you, you're not sleeping?
100%.
Because every time I call you, you call me back. I'm like, sorry, Professor, I was sleeping. Every time.
You felt professor, you've been
I've asked them 100 times to stop. A bajillion times I've
Well,
asked.
she was my professor, is how we met.
Suffer.
Like, like,
She will not.
Okay, can I call you professor?
Call me professor.
I try to influence people to nickname her professor because of the whole mastermind, Mike Longray.
Another one of our people from the not-for-profit board, he calls me ma'am.
Whoa.
Oh my God. He even texts me, ma'am. Like, stop. I'm not a ma'am. What about me as a ma'am? Like,
Yeah, I don't like sir.
oh, no.
I think it's just cultural too because we don't call people by like elders by our first name.
Elders.
Oh, anybody
I don't like that word very much.
with a little bit, even just like a few years over us, we don't call them by their first.
So, like, a 27-year-old you would call ma'am?
I would like it depends on like what scenario.
Their position of whatever.
Like if we have other terms too, but like in English we're limited to ma'am and sir. But in Hindi or any other local language, we have other like nicknames for them. Like
I hear, like, sister and stuff, too.
yeah, like sister. There's a word called di or like didi, which is like elder sister. So we never. It's just too much. It's like too disrespectful for us to call. It's so hard for me to go at work and like have call like
People by their name.
yeah who are in their 60s and 70s by their name and like hey how are you doing?
You want to call them ma'am?
Maybe I don't care. Even again, my staff, it's just so weird to call them by their first name.
Wow.
It's just disrespectful.
And it was so weird from my perspective, because I say at the beginning, please don't call me ma'am. Please don't call me professor. Please call me Shannon. Doesn't matter. They still call me ma'am.
It's best, right? It just, I feel like it's a very buddy thing to call somebody by their first name. Interesting. But I don't know. I think it's just culture.
Michael. And for those of you who are not watching, my dog Olive, all of you podcasts, has loved up right on Michael. She's right at his feet. It's way too cute.
Yeah, she's like on my foot, and it's
Let me have
so cute.
this at their
Yeah, Shannon, did you get some footage of this? This is really good. Okay, I have a good question. Since you have a history in comedy, this will be a good one for you. Who is the funniest person you know? Is it you?
Oh, I can't. But I can't.
You can't, because it'll be. You don't want to offend.
I was just saying, I have an answer,
Yeah.
and if you're watching this and you think it's you, it's you.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Okay, so would you say that it's somebody from your crew of like your original comedy gang? Is it not a person that would be obvious? Because sometimes people are funny and they're like quiet introverts, but they say really funny shit when you spend time with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's no, yeah, it's.
He doesn't want to answer my okay. Yeah, he does that. He's afraid of the fall.
I know why.
I like it. I think honestly, all of my friends are equally funny.
That's fun.
Exactly equal. So I can't even decide.
It's okay.
You're safe. Yeah, that's a very diplomatic answer for the guy that avoids politics, right?
Yeah, we're looking for the dirt here. You're asking the gotcha questions.
Sean, who's the funniest person you know?
Is it me?
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Or do you have a comedian that you follow, or what do you think?
I think it's like people's comedic timing. I like the quiet kinds.
Yeah, this is out of
Like, yeah, you're so professional and then just say the most random shit out there. But
yeah.
yeah, definitely. I like dark humor.
Yeah, dark. I'm trying to think of who's the funniest person I know, and I don't know why this comedian is coming to my mind, but do you know who Nate Bargatze is?
Oh yeah, he's great.
Man, and he's clean. Like, he's a clean comedian, but I saw him at I went to visit my cousin in Tennessee last December, and we had tickets to go and see him. I had tears streaming down my face. Like, I don't obviously know Nate Bargatze, but like, in terms of comedians that have left me in stitches as of late, I would say that he's one of them. I do really like his comedy.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Have you seen any big comedians live? like Chappelle or any of those Cosby guys?
Yeah, I've seen a bunch. I mean, I've seen Louis C.K.
Okay, I saw him
Since been canceled.
since the Me Too thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I saw him before that. And I like when JFL comes here to Toronto, and so I usually get a pass and try to watch as many shows as I can. You know, I've seen Norm Macdonald. There's like, rest in peace, but he's a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I try to watch I watch a lot of local comedy too, like local Toronto comedians, especially like a lot of them have shows on the network and stuff, and there's so much great, like, you know, like all these big comedians are great, you know, big.
They're tiny
recent.
and it's
But there's also like so much great local stuff happening in Toronto or whatever city you're in, and like go watch like a local stand-up show.
So there is one Hamilton show that happens happens at the Shady Bar.
yeah, those are the best ones. Those are the dirtiest, funny, wealthiest ones. Oh, I love that. Did you know that I once had a dream that I wanted to be a student when I was like 22? Yeah, never happened.
22 is when I thought I was really funny too. Anyways, I want to ask a very uncomfortable question. But like to the both of you, I know some of your issues that you stand for. Are there any controversial topics you're really passionate about? It can be like anything civil right now, whatever. But I just was meaning to ask this. So,
Controversial topics that you're passionate about right now? That's the question? Okay, I have one. Do you have one? It's another podcast, actually.
That I'm passionate about right now. I mean, I'm passionate about stuff, you know, non-publicly, I guess you could say, in my mind and conversations with friends and stuff. But I don't like, and I think that's just my personality. You know, I don't have social media, like you said. I'm not like a big, like, you know, shouting about my beliefs thing. And not that like it's bad that people do. It's just, that's just not how I'm doing it. So yeah, but yeah, I think if I'm going to have an answer, okay, I've locked it in. I've locked it in.
That's your answer.
Oh, no, I have parts.
Tell us. Download. Tell us.
And this is, I guess, kind of outdated, but during COVID
Okay.
was very frustrating, all the misinformation and all the stuff and all this fighting. And
I would support you in that.
this fighting among people, those stupid stuff, and like people are just dying, and it was like, it was just so frustrating to watch, like people with no backing of science or anything, just like,
And even more frustrating now that we know it was manufactured in a lab.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was that was a thing where I was like, can't we all just like relax and just stay home for a little while for the greater good? Is that such a big deal?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So are you?
yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I worked in healthcare, Sham. Well, I don't know if you were directly in healthcare.
I was like peak hell.
That was the peak of your career. Okay. So I can tell you, Michael, that with the utmost certainty, there was a lot of fear mongering going on, because when we were in the hospital, we would have people coming in and taking pictures of like the waiting rooms and stuff and saying, there's nobody in here. Nobody is sick. And we're like, the people who are sick are in the ICU. Like, so there was very ignorant people that were making it out to be like it wasn't actually something, but we were managing the situation in ICUs and in emergency, you know, in the emergency bays and stuff. So there was a big time when we had people, Shannon and I worked at the same hospital. Remember when people would come in who weren't vaccinated or who weren't willing to wear a mask, and how crappy those situations would be?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. It was shit. We were deep in the thick of healthcare at that time.
What about you?
What was the question?
As your controversial stand, or like not belief system per se, but something that you would advocate?
Well, I suppose it will probably be out by the time this episode airs, but I'm going to be featured in the Globe and Mail about something. So that's kind of controversial, the thing that I'm in the Globe and Mail about, which is education reform. I was interviewed by a reporter And I'm nervous talking about this. Anyways, I had my photo shoot last Friday, and the article is talking about how I feel that the college system has failed our younger generation, and it continues to fail our younger generation. And it's incredibly sad what's happening with our college systems. And I feel openly as a professor that a lot of the programs that exist aren't actually teaching young people what they need to be taught. And I'm worried about the future. And I've talked about this before, that I'm worried about the confidence and the skill set and the ability of young people, even though, you know, they're paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for this expensive piece of paper. It's not teaching them the skills that they need to be successful in this world. And that's terrifying to me. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that qualifies as something passionate and important. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've just been teaching semester after semester, and I feel like a broken record. I'm not just teaching students theory. I'm teaching them like basic life skills, basic communication skills, basic problem solving skills. And it breaks my heart to think that, you know, they don't have support systems in place to, especially like the demographic coming out of COVID, people that spent their entire high school experience online during COVID, like those students are so fucked. Like they're so fucked. It's terrifying to think that these are the people that will be taking care of us or, you know, leading us when we're old, right? You're not going to say anything because I know you don't want to get into controversial deeds of things, but...
No, I mean, I don't mind that, but yeah, I just never thought about that. But yeah, that for sure affected people that had these kind of isolated and lonely kind of these years. Your high school years is like the most social years. You're kind of becoming an adult, and if you're
figuring out
who you are,
yeah.
it's like is evolving, and a lot of that is based on social interactions with other people and stuff. So you rip all of that away. I don't know what
we don't even know what the impact is going to be. And Sham said a million times how you can't even stand being on Zoom anymore. Like when you had Zoom classes, you just turned it on and fell asleep.
Again, my time. What on earth is that?
Yeah.
No, and that, well, when I was doing that, I was like more finished my university and then that coast grad. But before that, like I was in person, so I'm not even like I would have been duped if it was my high school years, because like
high school years were pretty troubling years for you. So I can't imagine. Anyways, that will be interesting. The Globe and Mail article will come out. I'm not exactly sure what the blowback, if there will be blowback, there might be people that totally agree with me, but there will also be some.
I think, yeah, one of the most frustrating things is like people with a platform and influence not talking about things that need to be spoken about. And I feel like brands who are taking these controversial stands are booming right.
Yeah.
Like Ben and Jerry, the ice cream.
What's that? What's going on with that?
They took a very, very strong stand about the women health, women rights, and human rights.
Interesting. It's right. I feel like they have a history of being a controversial company.
Yes, they have their Instagram is going millions really now because they just took a stand. They're like, that's what we stand for.
Yeah, you've sent me some things from some brands like Duolingo that was using like not PC marketing strategies, like they were using non-PC language.
I feel like those some of them have like crazy platforms to do the right thing, or at least like advocate for people who are not with all the censorship, not able to like even say anything.
Yeah,
and these brands taking a stand is amazing, and people with influence should be taking a stand.
Have you heard of the app? I don't know if it's an app, whatever, platform called Rumble.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it. What is it?
I think it's basically like YouTube for
controversial
the right ways. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like there's not as many rules in place there. There's not as much censorship as YouTube. So like a lot of the people that get kicked out of off of YouTube just like fucking
go to
Rumble down to Rumble and like slum it down there.
Rumble to Rumble.
Yeah, but it's like pretty bad over there. It's just like the scourge of your.
What's bothering me is that these mainstream platforms like YouTube are okay.
Sorry, you do.
Yeah, these mainstream platforms are okay with putting people who are making sure that their censorship words are taken off of it. And they're still promoting these crazy, hateful agendas, whereas people who are putting out information and stuff like that are being sent to Discord because you're censored and blocked here. And I think that's wild.
The world is tilted on its axis. I've said that a million times. It just feels like everything is so backwards right now. Speaking of podcasts, I wanted to mention this to you too. Have you heard of the Telepathy Tapes
No.
with Kai Dickens?
No.
Okay, so
that cool?
Yes. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about it. So she was originally a documentarian. I think that's the right word. Where she was creating documentaries on human rights things like healthcare and access to healthcare. And anyway, she stumbles across this neuroscientist who's doing research on nonverbal children. And she starts to have these discoveries of nonverbal children who can read their parents' minds. And she ends up doing research on this, and they strip her of her license because she's challenging everything that we know as the basis of science and consciousness and whatever. So she's stripped of her practicing license as a physician, and Kai Dickens, this documentarian, comes along and hears about this story. And she talks to this neuroscientist and discovers that it's not one parent, it's not 10 parents, it's hundreds of parents. And they weren't coming forward because they thought that it was just their child, and they thought that people would think they were crazy. But their nonverbal autistic children can literally tap into their parents' consciousness. And Kai Dickens does a 10-episode podcast series on the different parents and the different nonverbal children and their abilities and the extent of their abilities. We're not just talking like abilities to read minds. We're talking like they can connect with people in other parts of the world. They can speak languages that they've never been taught to speak. Like wild stuff.
Wow.
So apparently this podcast, when it launched, it blew past Joe Rogan for like 2 or 3 days because everybody was listening to it. Telepathy Tapes. So she's coming out with a documentary on this now. And it's like mind-bending. Totally mind-bending. And it's going to change the way we look at consciousness and humanity in society as we know it, according to the podcast. Wild, right?
Well,
Another one of those things
I'll
that
give it a
podcast.
listen.
Yeah, I've been shouting it from the rooftop since I listened to it. I've listened to it through twice.
oh, wow.
Yes, because it's so fascinating to me. She's coming out with I think, because they've filmed it all too, but she identified that podcasts were so big that she wanted to put it out as a podcast first to promote the documentary. And now the podcast has become so popular that people have now donated to the research for the non-speaker population. It's insane, Michael. Like, totally insane.
Telepathy tapes.
Telepathy Tapes, yeah.
Great.
And now she's been on all the main Jay Shetty and, all the main big podcast people. Now she's doing a media circuit to continue to promote the documentary that's coming out.
Cool.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Very crazy.
Well,
anyways, now you have to check it out.
Now you're here first.
I heard exactly. Okay, so we have one more segment that we like to do, which is the olive and the pit. The olive is the best thing about your week, because olive is always the best thing about my week. And the pit is the shittiest thing about your week. So what was your olive and what was your pick?
Well, when does the week start?
When does it start for you?
Yeah. Okay.
Because we're middle of the week right now. So let's just say since 7 days from today. Last Wednesday.
Okay. The olive, I think, is, well, not included coming here. How many people say that?
And some people do. It's not the most common answer. But
That's not all. But obviously coming here was a treat. But a few days ago, I forgot that we, do you know Factor?
like the meal replacement kit?
the meal.
Wow, that's the exact line from the advertisement.
Yeah.
The meal replacement kit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's advertising right there.
Yeah, they sponsor some of our shows. They're great. We love Factor. Go to Factor.
Hey, Factor.
But I forgot that I had a box coming, and I was like hungry and coming home and being like, what am I going to make? There's nothing in the fridge. And then I get out of my car, and it's just a big box of
That's
food
beautiful
on my
you. That's
porch. And I was like, oh, cool. Dinner right there.
That's an olive for sure.
So that was an olive. It's not like life-changing or anything, but it was just like those moments where it's like, you know, when it's like, oh, I really wish I wish I could have a cup of coffee. And then like your partner's walks down the stairs holding a hot cup of coffee for you. And it's like,
Telepathy.
you know, these moments where it's like, yeah, I manifested this. And the pit.
What was the pits this week?
Oh my gosh, the pit.
The box is empty.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, I opened the box up and there was a raccoon inside. A rabbit.
Your Factor meal
Yeah.
kit.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Leave that for a second.
That's very gullible. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a pretty good week.
That's good.
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be a pit if there isn't a pit.
There's no pit.
Good.
There's no pit. You know, I got a pit.
Okay.
It's all food related.
Oh.
Holy sweet.
Are you hungry? We should probably feed you.
No, I'm not hungry at all. But just food is very much my like very culture revolves around it.
Exactly. Mangias. Mam.
Yeah, I made a curry, like a potato curry, and it was truly terrible. So bad. And it was like bitter, and it was terrible. And then I tried to like counteract the bitterness by like adding some sugar and stuff. And then it just tasted like sweet and bitter. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be, and it was like so much. And then like,
Repacy. Do you have a repacy you could share?
Crazy. So you're not you're half Italian?
I'm Italian, yeah.
You're fully Italian.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it for sure.
Why did you say that?
Or maybe you got his cooking skills from the non-Italian part of.
Oh, yeah.
You got.
He wasn't cooking an Italian dish, to be fair.
Yeah, and normally like I like making curries but like, I also like experimenting, that's my problem. It's like because I don't know what's gonna, I'm not like I don't have that sixth sense of like, oh, this needs this. I like my mind is more like, I wonder what would happen if I add this. And like so it's like sometimes it works and it's great, add that to the repertoire. And sometimes it's like just so bad. So
My curries never taste the same.
Are they supposed to? Like if you follow a...
Because I'm just like eyeballing everything.
So then you do have the sixth sense of what needs to be in. Not like...
Mine was just every time a new curry. Like I eat the same meal every day, but it's always different. So it's great. I don't understand people's cooking.
What's your signature dish? If you were cooking for a dude, let's just say you... Hold on. Let's just say you fell in love with some guy and you wanted to make him your best dish to impress the pants off of him. What would you do? What would you make?
Basic. If I have to cook for my girlfriends, and what would I cook? I would probably make like maybe like a biryani dish.
Okay.
Yeah.
You make a biryani dish. Nice. From scratch, not from a jar off the shelf at the grocery store.
My
Your ancestors would roll in their grave probably.
what is that? Testing minutes. I don't understand jars.
Okay, what's your olive and pit, my love?
My olive was the day I called in sick because I had like a temp and a body ache and backache. I slept all day and I didn't get up once feeling ugh. I was like,
You slept through it.
had the best nap.
Oh, that's
I always dream naps. But yeah, that was my olive.
That was the nap. Of course, your nap was an olive. My goodness, you were
It was another 12-hour nap.
That's like a pat. That's a coma.
It was a great nap. I woke up, I turned on Wizards of Waverly Place on my tablet.
What is it? What did you turn on?
Wizards of Waverly Place.
What is that?
Oh,
What's Wizard of Waverly?
Selena Gomez and her family in New York.
good lord.
They're over like a
I don't watch TV, guys. Do you see a TV? There's no TV.
It was like not 90s, so. But yeah, I watched that show.
Is it a YouTube thing?
No, it's Disney. Isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it was Disney.
Yeah.
Oh,
Joe DeLuzzi. What's the comedian DeLuzzi?
Yeah.
His son Selena Gomez is the daughter. He has two brothers.
It's
Where
perfect.
my kids? Yeah.
that's your
Grown.
put you to sleep nap show?
That's my
Wake up.
watch by like,
Your comfort show.
yeah, like I just existed.
What's your comfort show? Do you have one of those shows that you watch on repeat?
Yeah, my comfort show is also my secret shame. Well, I guess I have a few. First of all, I love garbage reality TV, like the Netflix shows, The Love Is Blind,
I have dabbled in Love is Blind. I have.
Jersey Shore. I'll watch that, and then, but my go-to show when I just feel like something fun and stupid is a show called Impractical Jokers.
Oh, I love that.
It's
The
so
four
fun.
guys
Yeah, it's just like dumb and fun and
do the most insane.
They like prank people?
They're like mostly each other.
Oh, is that like a jackass? Is it like a jackass?
no, not really. Not really. It's just like, one guy is out there in the field and he has an earpiece and the other guys are, behind the scenes, like telling him what to say.
Oh, that's fun.
He's got to just like say things and embarrass himself.
And if it failed, then one of them got married to somebody's sister.
Yeah, that whoever loses has to do a punishment at the end. And sometimes like one of the punishments, like they had to get like tattoos and one of them was like he'd marry the other guy's sister.
Oh my god, that's too funny. Well, you could just annul it. So let's say we're in the. I got.
Yeah, well, anyway, stuff.
Mine's The Office. That's my like I could have that on in the background all the time, always, or Friends.
What's your Oliver pick?
Yeah.
I've had a lot this week. This week's been a very good week for me. Olive was, which I don't usually say. Usually I'm focused way on the pits, which is good. So the Golden Mail, obviously, that photo shoot. Oh my God, it makes me feel nervous just thinking about it. And Michael, you don't even know this yet. And maybe this will have happened by the time this episode airs, so I can talk about it. But I was just approved to be on Dragon's Den.
Whoa. For
Their audition
what's the company? What's the product? Or
I can't talk about it on here.
okay, yeah.
You could sign it at the end. No, I'm just kidding.
Fair, yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I've been working on. It came into existence in my brain last August. And I've been thinking about it and dreaming about it. And I registered as a sole proprietorship in January and I secured my bank account and I got everything in my ducks in a row from a business perspective. It's technically conceptual at this point, but I have a team of app developers working on things. And
Great.
yeah, I'm shitting myself a bit.
Oh, congrats. That's
Thank
huge.
you. Yeah.
So does this mean that you're like guaranteed to be on TV? Or
So my understanding, I spoke to Amanda about it actually. I said, I'm freaking out because the Golden Mail's happening and Dragon's Den's happening. I've never done any fucking thing like this ever before in my life. And I feel so nervous. And she's like, don't be nervous. Like just go into it knowing your numbers and, being able to speak. But the first sort of screening is with the casting. So the wild thing about all of this is that I filmed my elevator pitch. Saturday I went to an IT networking event thing where I was a judge panel thing for a hackathon. And I was invited to be on the panel to vote for the best hackathon winner. And the team that won, I reached out to them and I said, I have this thing that I want to put onto Dragon's Den. I hadn't applied yet. I hadn't even freaking applied yet. So this is just Saturday. So they signed the NDA by Sunday morning. I literally sat here, did 2 takes of my elevator pitch, attached my unedited elevator pitch to my application, talk about who I am and what I want to do, submitted it on Sunday evening, and they contacted me on Monday morning.
Wow, that's an olive.
That's a fucking
It's a
olive
big
tree.
Yeah,
Like,
that's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I will be following along.
thank you. Yeah. So I could say the name of the company because I have posted the name of the company, but it's the Human Experience Company, or THE, the company.
Human Experience Company. I love that. That company.
The companies. Yeah. So more to come.
Well, stay tuned for
More
that.
to come.
Big sponsor for the episode is from the company.
Yeah, the company. I'm really looking forward to the experience. These web app tech developers are brilliant, and what they were able to come up with in a very short period of time for the hackathon is incredible to me. I certainly wasn't expecting the response to be so quick. I thought I was going to have a little bit more time, but it's go time. It's go time. Time to go. Speaking of go time, I think it's time to wrap this episode up. We've been trying to keep our episodes under an hour and a half because some of our episodes are like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Nobody is listening for 2.5 hours, but it's been a joy having you on the All of You podcast, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
It's
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me into your cool, awesome, weird place.
Thank you. And Sham, welcome back. And we've got a lot of recording to do, sister. We've got a entire season 2 that we need to wrap up by June, which is wild. I think it's wild that we're talking about season 2. So wild.
I hope you promoted the podcast on your Globe and Mail article.
I didn't. I didn't actually. But I assume that people will find me and then they'll figure out what I'm doing. Yeah. They'll find me and they'll figure out what I'm doing. And then when I'm on Dragons, then they'll continue to figure out what I'm doing. Yeah. Wow, guys. Anyways, this has been Michael from the Sonar Network on the All of You podcast. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Michael, again. Sham, it's so good to always have you on the mic and throw in a different perspective every now and again. Well, guys, this is the Olive You podcast, the podcast where we sit down with all of you. You'll join us next time when we extend the olive branch. You're going to like and subscribe and share and comment and all of those good things that do good for the algorithm. It would help us out very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Whoop, 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 whoop. Thanks, Michael.